I take umbrage to the fact oldest, but I guess today, even if you've been around 15 years, it does mean time. But a lot has changed. In all seriousness, when I started Make My Trip 15 years ago, it was a very, very different environment. Like the minister said, people didn't understand startups. Today, we have reached a level where not only is startup a respectable word, but more importantly, the government is so committed to actually solve the pain points of startups and give them the pedestal they deserve.
Is this startup policy an inflection point of sorts, and do you see it as a game changer?
I really do see this as a watershed moment. I see it as a big game changer because this is an initiative that's come from the government. And not only from the government, I believe this is indeed the Prime Minister's initiative where he wants hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs to come up across the spectrum, not just in technology, but actually across the spectrum, including small tertiary areas, tertiary cities. So I think this can be a game changer for India.
Mm-hmm. You recently saw investment from China's MakeMyTrip. Is this a precursor to more investment coming from China or from MakeMyTrip?
It's hard for me to comment. Yeah, we are delighted to announce the investment of $180 million from MakeMyTrip into MakeMyTrip. But it's hard for us to say if this will be more. But what is very clear is that people have done so well in China. Investors have made so much money. Companies have made so much money that they only see India as, well, the next China. Many similarities, huge market connected through mobiles now and rising middle class and money in their pockets, so people willing to now spend on themselves. So I think it's a matter of time where India will definitely catch up very fast. Yeah.
How do you plan to use these funds that you got from MakeMyTrip?
So we have bolstered our kitty on our balance sheet. We had $100 million, now we have $180 million more, so $280 million definitely gives us a very good war chest for organic needs, to invest in technology, to look at young companies, to look at mid-size and even large companies which could be ripe for consolidation because we think the market is going that kind of phase.
Mm-hmm. How much of a threat do hotel aggregators like Oyo pose for companies like MakeMyTrip?
I think it's an interesting model. It's a different model. You have to bear in mind that only about 10% of all hotels are bought online today. Mm-hmm. So it's a huge market out there. There's 90% of the market which is to be taken. I think there's room for 2 or 3 players for sure. We also have not an aggregation play, but we've launched our own brand, which is called My Value Plus, which is about hotels which are accredited by MakeMyTrip at every budget point. So it's clearly an interesting market.
Mm-hmm. How do you plan to guard your turf, seeing players like Oyo and Stayzilla coming, and that the lines are getting blurred between travel sites and booking sites?
Yeah, I think we know a thing or two about managing competition. We have seen competition in the past. Many companies have been there since we started in 2000. Very few of those are still around. But I think the motto at MakeMyTrip, and it's really my personal maxim, is to be aware of competition, but not obsess on competition. If you obsess on anything, you've got to obsess about your customer. Mm-hmm. So keep focusing on the pain points, keep solving them through technology and product. The rest will follow.
Mm-hmm. Going forward, how do you see extensions from MakeMyTrip in 2016? What are the other extensions you're looking at in 2016?
So we're definitely going to go much deeper this year into the accommodation space. We're going to get into the hotel space even deeper, which is perhaps even alternate accommodation, perhaps even smaller hotels, smaller cities. Also in the international space for hotels, we think there's a lot of play. And you will see us also taking holidays online in a big way, where people will be booking their holidays, at least their domestic holidays, largely online.
Mm-hmm. You chose a NASDAQ listing some 6 years ago. Would you have chosen India now, given the option?
Yeah, in August 2010, it was a very different scenario. We chose to list in the US because the awareness and understanding of the internet economy just wasn't here among investors in a large way. I'm glad we listed in the US at that point of time, but we are definitely open to looking at a dual listing as well.
Mm-hmm. If there's one thing that young entrepreneurs can learn from your experience, going forward, what would you tell them?
Head down, don't focus on exits. If you focus on exit, you'll never get it. Focus on the customer, building a wonderful product, which is a world beater, and the rest will follow.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/etnow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at etnowlive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/etnow.